Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. You might remember when I was setting up this Fluval Flex that I said, for my birthday my parents ordered me a Fluval Flex, which was awesome. And then I filmed the unboxing of it until I turned it around like this and there was a humongous crack in the side. Well, now that other Fluval Flex, I figured, even if it's cracked, why let it go to waste? So I set it on this little table by my bed, and even though it has quite a large crack in the upper left side, I figured, alright, I can use this. I'm going to do something I have not seen on YouTube yet, and I'm going to make a AquaTerrarium out of a Fluval Flex. So the first order of business when I wanted to set up this whole tank was to patch that crack. And I don't know if the mailman was just playing like kickball with it, but I don't know how it got cracked. I just used simple liquid super glue and accelerator to patch it up. It was never meant to look too good because it's going to be facing away from the viewing angle. It was just something to make sure the glass didn't fall down because it's not going to be holding water. I then proceeded to add water accordingly until I found the minimum amount of water that I could add while the pump could still run. I then plugged in the pump just to make sure that it worked, and plugging in the pump made me need to unplug the lights and then plug them back in just because of cord space. And when you plug them back in, they come on as blue, but then I use the remote to make them white. So this is about the minimum amount of water that you can have in a Fluval Flex while still having the pump able to run. As you can see, the flow is pretty strong, but I will turn it kind of into a waterfall by adjusting the nozzles. I then added a little piece of tape to remind me of the minimum water level. All that was left to do now was drain the tank and then get on with the build. It was a little difficult trying to get all the water out of it because I wanted the base to be as dry as possible, so I had to switch out my large hose for a little hose and I had to hold it manually there, and it took a really long time to finish draining the tank. I then decided to add a little layer of Carob Sea Eco Complete, and just as a little base layer, and also I needed something, just a little substrate so that my rocks could grip into it while I'm setting them up because I don't want them slipping and breaking the glass. And also for my birthday, which was yesterday as the time of recording, I got one of those aquascaping kits, and I have this paddle thing, and I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to be a verified aquascaper if you don't have one of these paddle thingies. So now that I'm verified, I've decided to use this instead of my little gift cards that I've been using for the past few months. Alright, so what I was trying to do here was situate a bunch of hardscape. This is just granite I found outside, but this was really hard to do to get it up to where the filter output was, and I was using Eco Complete to try and kind of build up the rocks, and eventually it kind of got the best of me. It was super hard to get them stacked like in a safe way so it wouldn't crack the glass. Eventually I got a layout that I was pretty proud of, and I think with a little bit of fine tuning and extra planting, it should look pretty good. So in order to situate the waterfall, I had no idea if this was going to work, but I used some of that black plastic from the DIY mini pond build and just kind of covered it in sand and stuff, just tried to use it so I could kind of channel the water output down. I'm going to hope that I can put a plant there that will sort of obscure the output nozzle, but for now it's just kind of right out in the open. I then started adding the decorative substrate in the front. This is just Carob Sea Sunset Gold. You will find that I use this in a lot of my setups because this is my favorite sand that I have not collected, that you can like commercially buy. It's $17 for a big bag on Amazon, so I thought that was pretty okay. I then used a bunch of small blocks I collected outside to kind of break up the hardscape lines. So now it is finally time for planting. All the moss that I found outside was very dried out due to the dry weather we've been having, but as soon as you spray this stuff down, with even just a little bit of water, it immediately springs back to life and starts looking really good again. as you saw in that cut right there, you can see that during the time it took me to collect this vine that I'm adding right here, the moss immediately sprang back up and was ready to start growing again. It's pretty interesting how puffy it gets. So this vine is just, we have these growing all over our yard. I don't know what species it is, but it grows really well in my crab aquaterrarium, so I decided to use it in here. So since I collected all of these plants in the yard, I don't really know what they are, but I figured out which ones I wanted beforehand and then watched them grow for about 2 weeks. I mean, I didn't just sit there and watch them grow. I kind of like came out there and monitored them growing, and as far as I can tell, none of these are getting too large, so I decided that I'd use them in this setup. I have no idea what this is. It looks kind of like a little fern, but I really like the texture of it, and if any of this gets too big, I will just remove it. So it was about this time that I decided it was time to add a little more detail in the form of sticks. I just collected these outside, and they've kind of just been sitting around for a long time, and I figured it was about time to utilize them. Alright everyone, so it's been about 3 weeks since the initial setup, and as you can see, I've added quite a few more plants. So the plant that you can see right there, that I have no idea what it was, but I got it for $1 on clearance at the supermarket, and it's growing fantastically. What a weird word, fantastically. But that's besides the point. This right here is a pothos that I've propagated from my Amazon style tank, and I use that to cover the outflow. Then we also have that spider plant, of course, a little fern peeking up right there, and then we've got the vine that's growing quite well, shooting out some roots and a bunch of new leaves. As you can see, swimming in the bottom left are 2 zebradanios. I did not go out and buy these, of course. I had these in a different tank, and I've slowly been relocating the fish out of my Amazon style tank, and these were 2 of the guys in there. I do understand that you are supposed to have them in larger schools, But I've had these for a long time, and they were only at 2, and I, at the point in time, of course, was not able to go out and buy more, so eventually I will buy some, but of course you don't want to overstock a small body of water like this. But for now, just 2, they're doing perfectly fine in here, and I think it's interesting to watch them swim around. I think they also add a little sense of scale to this, because they look like tiny little trout, kind of. I mean, their long fins don't really work with the naturalistic theme, but I still think they're quite cool. They were displaying some strange behavior in their first day here, but they've kind of mellowed that down. I thought it was breeding behavior for a little bit, but they're not doing that anymore, so no need to worry about whatever that was. So then the moss is growing quite well. The little plant that we had right here unfortunately got waterlogged and died, but that's okay. That's the only plant that we've lost. The moss is growing quite well, along with the frog bit that you can see right there. The main issue I've seen with this tank is that condensation builds up quite readily, and every day I find myself having to clean the front glass. As you can see, it's not the cleanest right now, and I can never get it too clean, but right there on the side pane, that's what everything looks like before I clean it. But that's kind of besides the whole idea behind this. The main idea was just, no one's ever done this on YouTube before. I don't think anyone's ever done this, period. And this whole setup worked out really well for me, and I'm super excited. I really love this thing. And I was initially wanted to stock this with golden white clouds, but as I cannot go out and buy any fish, I settled for these guys, and I think they're really interesting. That's really all I have to say about this. I encourage you guys, if you have a broken tank like this, see how you can use it, of course, in a safe manner. Don't just fill it up. Don't just patch it and then fill it up unless you are 100% confident with your patching skills, because it is dangerous that water could do something really horrible to your house. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I encourage you guys to try something out like this for yourself, and thank you for watching.